Hello, my name's Annie and welcome to my special video about packing for a European motorbike trip. I really hope you enjoy it and please hit like and subscribe if you do. Thank you. Well, I thought I'd better start off by just saying that I don't consider myself to be a travelling expert, although we have done many motorbike European trips in the last few years. Anyway, this is the bike that we travel on presently, although we have in the past owned other bikes such as a Honda Goldwing, but this is BMW K1600, which is a very, very good bike. I am the pillion rider. I don't actually drive the thing, but I also navigate and do all the organisation for our trips. And in the past, we have actually been up into Scandinavia, up to the western fjords. We've also been right down into the south of France and Spain, all from our home in the north of England, and also into Poland. We're presently planning a trip to Portugal later this year. So that's the bike. So as you can see, for packing, we have two panniers, these two hard panniers, which have soft liners, which can just be carried out like a hold-all. We generally have one each for our clothes and other sort of very personal small items. In the back box here, we put tools, first aid, toiletries, maps. Yes, I do still use paper maps because I'm old, as you might have noticed. I'm actually going to be 50 this year. So when it comes to clothes, I'm guessing that shoes are one of the biggest takers up of space for anybody when they're packing. And as you've seen, we have quite a small area to pack in, although it is amazing what you can actually fit into it. So, shoes. I'm starting with these as a bit of a joke. This is an example of probably what you will not need to pack. I know sometimes us ladies think, oh, what if we go somewhere really, smart, and I might be able to put in a little black dress and we'll go to this lovely restaurant in Paris or something like that. Well, let me tell you something. On a bike trip, it isn't going to happen. I think on my first bike trip ever, I did pack something like this. I secreted them somewhere as a contingency plan in case we went somewhere rather fabulous, and it never happened. And since then, it would never have happened again. So actually, it's a waste of space, and there's nothing more annoying than taking something with you that you're not going to wear. So what do we take? Now, clearly, you're wearing your boots on the bike, which does give you a heavy item of footwear, but when you get off the bike, you do want to slip into something more comfortable that perhaps could be dressed up a little bit, just if you want to wear it with either jeans or a summer dress perhaps. So I tend to take, depending where we're going, if we're going somewhere like Scandinavia, I just take a pair of ballet flats. As you can see, these are a very neutral colour, so they kind of go with anything. They look all right with jeans, they look all right with a dress, and even a sort of very plain summer dress or something. If you put your makeup on and a nice pair of earrings, it suddenly looks a bit more dressy. So that's all you really need. They fold very flat for when they're packed. Okay, now it's possible that actually, if I think we're going somewhere hotter, like into the south of Europe for a trip, and our trips usually last 2 to 3 weeks, I may just pack a pair of flip-flops. So again, these are fairly dressy ones, as you can see, in a way. So they're fine for the beach, but they're also fine if you're going into a restaurant in the evening, and they fold down to absolutely nothing. It is possible that on some trips I would take both of those, but it's unusual. I'd usually make a decision. You have to be brutal when you're packing sometimes. Now, for hiking about, if we're going to be in cities and we think we're going to be walking a long way, or in the countryside and we might want to hike up the hill to look over the town or something, I tend to just pack trainers, and I find trainers like these running shoes, they do actually, again, fold down pretty small. I'm not a huge fan of necessarily stuffing them with underwear and socks. I think it just makes them a rigid mass that you can't do much about. So those I would probably just pack flat like that. I might put a pair of socks in the bit that I can't push flat, maybe, because otherwise it's a wasted piece of space. And now to our other clothes. Now, 2 points just to point out here. I'm not going to talk about what we actually wear on the bike because obviously we're wearing biking gear and that doesn't have to be packed. You can get very caught out in Europe and Scandinavia, even in the summer, when we have actually faced sideways snow in Norway.
Ice warning! No wonder.
And we've also faced the hottest day ever recorded up to that point when we were driving into Warsaw, Poland in 2015. So the key is to take layers, thin layers, that you can obviously put on or take off. And so something like some sort of t-shirts and maybe some long sleeve t-shirts, and also things like sweaters like this that are fairly fine knit, and will fit underneath other things like your biking jacket for extra layers of warmth. When I get off the bike of an evening, quite often if it's warm, I'll want to put on something just like a summer dress, something non-restrictive if you've been sitting sweating into your clothes all day. But I also pack usually a pair of jeans and a couple of t-shirts that'll rinse out and wash out very easily. And that's what's going to take us to our next point, which is going to be about the need to do laundry on the go, because obviously that means you can pack far less. I also like to find items of clothing that will double up in different ways as different uses. So for example, this, which is really, I think I bought it in some ethnic Indian shop. It can be used as a dress. You can tie it up like a halter neck. You can wear it as a sarong on the beach. It's reversible, so it almost looks like you've got a different colour dress underneath. It's a bit crumpled at the moment because it's been stuffed in a bag, but you get the idea. You can wear it as a shawl if it's a bit chilly when you go out of an evening, all those sort of things. So a very useful piece of wear, and it's quite good for putting on over a swimsuit as well if you get to go swimming in the sea or in a pool. The other thing to say is, of course, that the less you can take with you, the less there is to pack up. And mostly on our trips, we're moving on every night or sometimes every 2 nights if we get a bit of a rest somewhere. And so, on to laundry on the go. Now, doing laundry in hotel rooms is absolutely perfectly possible, but a few tips I would say are: anything that's going to take a while to dry out, you need to be doing it as soon as you check in so that it has a chance, particularly if you're leaving the next morning. And we always take a little bottle of laundry detergent. I wouldn't advise buying travel wash, actually. I think it's better to take, unless you're allergic to it, something quite biological with you, because of course you can leave something soaking for a while in that and it eats all the horrible sweat and dead skin particles that no doubt you've left on your clothes. So in a hotel room, here are some tips for doing laundry. The first is, not all hotel rooms, even quite upmarket ones, have a plug in the sink we find in Europe. So just packing this universal plug takes up absolutely no room and is vital if you want to soak anything in your hotel sink. This is a travel washing line, which is fantastic. Again, takes up no use. It has both suckers on each end, so you can hang it across a bathroom. It also has clips. We sometimes get a room with a balcony, and you can even dry your laundry outside if the hotel isn't too fussy about having laundry hanging up, which of course some are. The other tip I would say about laundry on the go is make sure you leave adequate time to dry those really slow drying articles. And we find the worst things are socks. So make sure you pack thin socks, no great thick ones, because otherwise they will take days to dry. Also, if you have a spare hand towel in the hotel room, when you've done your washing, some of it you can wrap up in the towel and wring it out using the towel as a sort of mangle, or you can trample all over it. I usually get my husband to do that, and it takes out a lot of the moisture and it will dry much more quickly after that. A word about electronics, taking them to Europe. You can get universal adapters for various countries, and some high-end hotels nowadays will just have USB ports that you can recharge devices on and so on. However, you do have to be a bit careful if you're taking this sort of adapter. So this is one that will work in most of Europe and most of Scandinavia, but you can get caught out. So for example, this one here, this is actually a different ending, and that is used in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. And the first time we went to Switzerland, we were caught out by that, and the hotel very kindly lent us one, but we then did actually find an electronics shop because we were going to be there for some time and bought our own. So now I'm going to talk about medication and what you should perhaps take with you. Obviously, we pack a few sort of minor blister patches, some antiseptic spray and things like that, which I haven't actually got out. But I'm going to talk now about this other sort of medication that we would take. Obviously, if you have anything that you need that's specific, like asthma inhalers or such like, you will have to make sure you have those as well. But we take painkillers. Don't need to take too many because it's rare that we go so far off the beaten track that we wouldn't be able to find a pharmacy, you know, within a few hours if we had to. But it's useful perhaps to take some different types of painkiller with you. Antihistamines, you can see most of those have been taken, I think. And antihistamine eye drops. I find sometimes when I go into a different area, sometimes right down near the Mediterranean, I get a different sort of hay fever that affects my eyes that perhaps I wouldn't get in the north of England. So it's best to be prepared perhaps, and it doesn't take much room up. These are Rennies, I think, yes. So they're just a peppermint anti-indigestion tablet. Of course, you're on holiday, you may well be eating things you're not used to or perhaps overindulging, and it just helps if you get a bit of heartburn or something like that. And then probably the most important, because these sort of poo problems never happen at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you're in a major city. They always happen when you're in a tiny village in the Pyrenees at 3 a.m. So pack things in case you're going too much, and pack things in case you can't do anything. And so one undoes the other, uppers and downers. And then put everything in a small bag and make sure that you and any other member of your party is always aware of where that bag is. Don't hide it away, because then they won't have to wake you up when they've got the shits at 3 a.m, which is important. My husband and I, we really laugh that, you know, nowadays sometimes it looks like our bag for the medication looks bigger than our bag for the toiletry things that we take, and that's just a sign of advancing middle to old age, I'm sure. So now I'm going to run through some of the basic toiletry items that we take with us. Firstly, hand sanitizer gel. I always take this. I know it's no alternative for really washing your hands with hot soap and water, but occasionally that's not always possible before you're going to stop and eat a sandwich in a little village somewhere. So that's very important. Also, I take only a very small thing of sun cream because we don't really lie around in the sun that much on these trips. And if we do, I just buy something whilst we're there. But just these little ones are kind of handy. This is just one from Aldi. Sometimes the small ones that they make for children are also a very handy size just to take if you just need to do your face perhaps and your arms. Moisturisers, just general toiletries and dental items that you'd expect to take. I tend to decant shampoo and conditioner into these small bottles, which I think came from Rohan Walking Shop. They're pretty good. You don't really need to take a lot with you because if you're staying in hotels, even budget hotels will usually give you at least a bar of soap to wash with, and sometimes you can use their shampoo as well, and sometimes even body lotions, and I tend to collect them anyway, and so as the trip progresses sometimes a few other things might be slipped into my bag. One for the girlies, makeup. Now, I don't find on these trips that you really feel like putting much makeup on, but sometimes when you come off the bike for the day and you want to go out for a meal, you might just want to sort of feel that, you know, you don't look like something young children are going to run away screaming from. So all I take really is I take mascara, eyeliner, I take some lip salve because often you do get dry lips on the bike, bits of sort of, it's a very pale sort of lipstick, and this is the most contentious item of all probably that we pack: eyelash curlers. Now, one of my old primary school friends was laughing about this when she saw a picture of these on Facebook on a recent trip, but I can tell you, I think they cut down, for me anyway, on the need to take much other makeup, because if you've got curled up eyelashes, you suddenly look a lot better and feel a lot better as well. Well, this looks like it's very extravagant, but actually it isn't, because this tiny picnic set that we pack means that we eat out less on our trips in restaurants and expensive places. It folds up very small, and you can just go to a Carrefour or wherever and buy whatever you need to make a nice picnic. And don't forget your corkscrew. Have a great trip. Bon appetit. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. Good luck on your travels. Bon voyage.